Weapons of Peace Records.
Yeah, so today we're looking at bearings. Yeah, bearings actually are measured in angles, and we consider the North Pole as 00 degrees as the main pole of reference. And looking at the bearing, we've discussed the four cardinal points, which is the northeast, south, and west, which makes up news. But now we want to find out how can we calculate a bearing, and we are talking about a three-figure bearing here. And we've been given a bearing of Q from P, which is 050 degrees. Now let's calculate the bearing of P from Q, meaning that Q becomes a starting point as we move on to P. So we are moving from here. If P is a starting point from P up to Q, it is 50 degrees here. 0 in bearing form, it has to be 50 degrees. But now we want to calculate the bearing from Q going to P. Calculating this problem here, there's need for us to come up with the main pole. We need to create a north pole here. We need to create a north pole here. This is my north pole here. As my main. And we said bearings moving from clockwise direction. From here we move from this part clockwise direction. Now we're moving from this Q here to P, and we want to find the angle there. So the one way we discussed method 1, the M method 1, how we can find that. The first method 1 is that we look at using the concept of angles, where we said this angle out in angles, the Z form is made from here. This is a Z making here, Z shape is made, meaning that this angle and this angle is the same. If this angle is 50 degrees, even the other angle is what? 50 degrees inside here. Thereafter, from here up to here, it is 180 degrees. Half of the circle. So now I'm moving from Q going to P. This is what the question is talking about. So I would say that the bearing of P from Q is 180 degrees plus 50 degrees, which is equal to 230 degrees. This is my answer here. The other method 2, how you can solve this problem is, the method 2 is knowing that PQ is a straight line. This is a straight line. Here we are 50. We can calculate the angle at this point here. So we can say the angle at that point, we can say 180. We can just say angle N. We can just say angle NQP plus angle NPQ is equal to 180 degrees. Meaning that these two angles, when you add them together, should give us 180 degrees. So this angle here, we don't know this angle here. We don't know to say this is NQP plus this angle here, the NPQ is 50 degrees. We substitute 50 degrees is equal to 180. So here we say the NQP is equal to 180 degrees minus 50 degrees, which is going to be the NQP is equal to the difference there will be 130 degrees. So at this point here, we have 130 degrees here. Now we want to find the angle from P, from this angle from there up to here. But bear in mind that this is the complete solution here. Everything, all the angles at this point here are adding up to 360 degrees, which is the complete revolution. So for me to find the angle from here up to there, from Q here up to there, I have to use the 360 degrees. I subtract that angle, which is 130 degrees. So I'll say that the bearing of P from Q is 360 degrees minus 130 degrees, which is equal to 230 degrees. This is my answer. This is the way you can solve this problem also. You can either use this method, or you can also use this method for finding the straight line, this angle, then you subtract from 360 for you to find the angle there. So on bearings, this is how we calculate on bearings. This is how we can calculate the bearing of this from that. P from Q is 230 degrees. Yeah, so let's look at the other way they can phrase a question on bearing. And looking at this question here, we'll be given the diagram below shows the bearing of P from Q, which is 230 degrees, which is this one. And then they've asked a question to say, find the bearing of Q from P. How can you solve this problem? Meaning that P has to be the starting point. But before we do anything, we answer this question, there will be need for us to draw the point of reference, which is the North Pole at P. So you do this. So this is my point, my main point, North Pole here. And the angle they're asking me to find is this point here. From this is my north at P here. This is the angle that I have to find. So now, how do I find the angle without knowing the angle which is at this point here? So now that this is the angle from here up to there, it is 230. Then once you complete it at this point here, we're going to find 360 degrees. So the best thing we're going to do there is, we're simply going to say that 360 degrees minus 230 degrees and the result here will be equal to, we'll just look at the difference there, 0 minus 0, the answer is 0 there, and 6 minus 3 here, the answer is 3, and 3 minus 2 there, the answer is 1. So we have 130 degrees. So here we have 130 degrees here, 130 degrees. Now, we've not found the answer. We want the answer at this point here is the answer we want to find. So now that this PQ here is a straight line, let us not forget that. Having found 130 degrees, it's actually going to be the added advantage for us to calculate this angle at this point, because QP is a straight line. For us to find the angle at this point here, we need to add the sum of these two angles equal to 180 degrees. So we'll say that we will say that the NPQ plus 130 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Thereafter, we'll say that the NPQ is equal to 180 degrees minus 130 degrees. The NPQ is equal to, the difference here is just 50 degrees. So now, in bearings, we don't have to say it's actually 50 degrees here. We're going to add a 0 in front of 50 here. It's going to be a 0, 50 degrees in 3-figure bearing. As long as this one, we leave it as 50 degrees, we're talking about an angle. But here, our discussion is on bearings. So you have to add a 0 in front of the whole number. And it becomes a 3-figure. So the final answer is 0, 50 degrees. So this is how we calculate the bearing when it comes in this way.